Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a movie that, at its core, I believe, is all about friendship. And what's more important than that? What's more special than a bond between two people? Well, I'll tell you. A bond between a person and an alien from another planet. It's Zontar, The Thing from Venus, a movie that came out in 1967, and believe it or not, this movie is actually a remake of a Roger Corman movie from 1956 called It Conquered the World, which was a movie about an alien that came to Earth from Venus. Now, why remake a movie that's only 11 years old? Well, it might have been because this is what they used for the alien, and maybe they wanted to improve on that. But quite honestly, how do you improve on perfection? The movie starts at Zone 6, where the United States is getting ready to launch a laser satellite into orbit. But suddenly, Keith is opposed to the launch. He's like, you gotta call it off because I believe it's a threat to the security of the world. And you're probably wondering what proof he has. Well, he has none, but that's not gonna stop him from making these claims. He's gotta save the world, goddammit. He doesn't have time for facts or evidence. Those things have never done anything for anyone, anywhere.
Alien intelligence watches us constantly. They don't feel we're ready to join in the great brotherhood of the countless galaxies.
Yeah, and they're probably right. I mean, let's be real here. If the universe was a high school, Earth would be the burnout kid who has a ton of issues, is always late, never wants to do any work, just a total mess. Basically me in high school. So now it's 3 months later, and Curt is like, well, Keith, the satellite is doing fine. Looks like you were worried for no reason. So why are you acting so smug? And Keith explains that he has a big secret, a big one, and he just has to tell somebody.
Well,
Keith, please.
Honey, this is too big. I've got to tell someone.
But you promised.
Curt will understand. Maybe nobody else on Earth, but Curt will understand.
Why would he assume that Curt would understand? I'm pretty sure, based on their last interaction, that Curt is convinced Keith is completely out of his mind. So he takes Curt into the other room, and he's like, check it out. It's a radio that I used to talk to Zontar. He's my alien friend from Venus. Listen, you can hear his voice right now. He's talking about how cool I am.
Can't you hear it? Listen to it, Curt. Listen to the voice.
Yes, I'm sure Curt is going to be totally on board with all of this. I mean, when Keith told Curt not to launch the rocket because of aliens and stuff, Curt basically told him to shut up. So why would he assume that Curt would understand any of this? Oh, he'll understand all right. He'll understand that it is long past due to have you committed.
Curt, listen to me. I've been in constant communication with him now for over 2 months. I don't know exactly how I understand, but it's a form of hyperspace hypnotism. I do know that I do understand.
All right, Keith, so you got a little friend on Venus. What does he want from us? Has he got a name? Or is it just an it? Or maybe it's a she.
Keith looks pretty annoyed by this, but Curt is actually right because as we all know, only women live on Venus. That has been well established through movies and books. Suddenly, there's a phone call, and it turns out the satellite has disappeared. What a coincidence! Keith is like, holy crap, it's happening. Zontar is going to ride the satellite down to Earth somehow. So later that night, he says to Martha, don't worry, everything is going to start to get better. Zontar pulled the satellite towards Venus, hopped on board, and then rode the satellite back into orbit. He's going to make everything better for us once he lands on Earth. I don't know how exactly, but he's gonna. He also told me to be sure to drink my Ovaltine, and with that, Martha begins to question some of her life choices, mainly getting involved with this guy in the first place. Back at the control station, they're trying to bring the satellite back down to Earth to take a look at it, but they're like, whoa, something's wrong. It's too heavy for some reason. Maybe it's an alien riding it. I guess the next day is super exciting because Zontar has landed And this has got Keith at full mast. I mean, just look at him. Of course Martha hates this shit. She's looking at this like, what the hell's going on here? I've never been able to get him this excited. Like, does he want to bang this alien? I mean, talk about a blow to the ego that you'll never recover from. I can't imagine being married to someone and then finding out she wants to leave me to go hook up with E.T. Alf, I can kind of understand because he's got jokes, but E.T., what's he got? Reese's Pieces? Okay, well, actually, he's got the long fingers, so... yeah, who am I kidding? I can't compete with any of these guys. Basically, any alien comes into my life, and they instantly become Mr. Steal Your Girl. See, this is the number one reason why I don't want to get married. So Zontar is hiding in a cave and is able to just shut down basically everything. All the electricity, all transportation, all power everywhere.
Zontar stopped all power at its source. That means steam, water, electricity, combustion engines, everything.
The whole city is now in a panic. Everybody spills onto the streets and starts running around. I don't know where they're going or what they're rushing to. I mean, the electricity went out. Okay, fine, that sucks, but it's not like a bomb is going off.
You mean the faucets won't work?
That's right.
That's ridiculous. I thought you said it wouldn't work.
Of course it works. It belongs to me. Zontar stopped the power selectively. We're not affected.
Yeah, Zontar thinks I'm super cool, so he didn't shut down any of my stuff. Well, there you go, Martha. You thought you married some loser. Well, would a loser be friends with an alien? And so much so that the alien allowed him to continue to have electricity and running water? Yeah, didn't think so. That's called a utility flex. Curt and Anne have to walk all the way to Keith's house because their car doesn't work. Nobody's car works, except all these cars in the background. That's kind of weird. Anyways, this is where Keith sees the gloating opportunity of a lifetime. So he tells everyone what's going on.
All right, Keith. All right. Let's say just for the moment that what you're saying is true. That a creature called Zontar has come from Venus and has shut down the world's power and is putting the world's population under its dominance. Now, if that is true, why aren't you fighting it?
And this is where Keith really gets to rub it in. I mean, not only was he right about everything, but he's the only one in contact with the alien. They're working together. So Keith is like, Zontar is coming to save us from ourselves. I don't know what that means exactly, but you should be excited. And also very impressed, because I was the one who made this happen. I contacted Zontar. And we've been talking ever since. Yeah, chatting all the time. I mean, he calls me a lot.
Keith, you talk as if this thing were a personal friend of yours.
Oh, yes. They're real chums.
The days when people made fun of me are over.
Curt keeps asking Keith, hey, what do you mean he's going to save us? What's the plan? And Keith is just kind of like, look, I can't tell you the plan exactly. All I know is that he's going to save us from ourselves. Doesn't that sound promising enough and not totally vague and scary? So since nothing works, the general leaves the command center on foot, and this is when he sees something that looks like a flying lobster. So he's like, well, I don't know what that thing is, but I'm gonna shoot at it anyways. And this is always the safe thing to do. Whenever you see something that you don't understand, take out your firearm and just start shooting all over the place. Because the more bullets there are in the air, the more your chances improve at actually hitting the thing. I mean, that's just basic math. Eventually, the thing gets him in the back of the neck, but it dies right away. So the general is like, well, I don't want anybody to find this thing. I'll just kick some leaves over it. That's the best way to hide anything, really. Leaves are forever. I guess the thing was called an Inject-O-Pod, and it stuck something into the general's neck, and now he's under Zontar's control. So the general is like, it's the commies. They've sabotaged the power and disrupted our communications. So all of you have to stay here until this is over.
Well, there's blankets and canned goods in the closet there. We'll make out.
No, we won't, Tom. Stop with this. General, he's like this every single time you leave. As soon as you walk out that door, he's like, hey, who wants to play spin the bottle? Dude, there's only 3 of us here. All right? I've talked to Louise about this. Neither of us is interested. We don't want to make out with you. You gotta let it go. Curt walks outside and sees everyone running for their lives. Again, don't know why though. Apparently, they're evacuating the city, but if that's true, how did they get the word out so fast? I mean, there's no power, there's no motorized vehicles. How did these sirens work? Do the sirens work with electricity? I don't know. Who cares? So this cop gets injected with an Inject-O-Pod, and he goes to this guy like, hey, the city is being evacuated. You gotta leave.
Get moving. Sorry, I don't understand a word you're saying, but I'll not go. I'm an old man, and here I stay.
Right. I just saw you kill a friend in cold blood. Why?
Orders.
Orders? Orders from whom?
Zontar, of course.
Well, Curt. Looks like Keith was right this whole time. Zontar does exist. And not only that, but now you're a problem for Zontar. So what are you going to do now? How are you going to get out of this one, Curt? You better have a pretty good plan. Okay, well, I guess that works. So Keith explains to Martha how the Inject-O-Pods work, and this is hilarious because he's just explaining this so casually.
The Inject-O-Pods, they're part of him. He detaches them and they fly to the person's wanted like birds. They plant this activated growth in the person's neck, after which he's controlled by the host. The person actually becomes a living extension of Zontar, actually becomes part of Zontar.
Oh yeah, I see no problem with this. There's absolutely no way that this could go wrong. Curt bikes home and explains to Anne everything that happened during the day.
Well, first I went downtown. Brad Crenshaw killed Ledford. Then I went over to the lab and found General Young. He was possessed somehow.
Yeah, you know, murder, possession. Why does this stuff always have to happen on a Monday? Can't you give me a few days to ease into the week? I mean, if this stuff happened on Thursday, I would be okay with it because, you know, weekend's right around the corner. But at this rate, I'm telling you, I'm going to be completely burned out by Wednesday. So Anne comes into the room and, oh crap, she's got one of the winged crustaceans. You are in for it now, Curt. I mean, talk about the day from hell. First, the car doesn't work, so you got a bike everywhere. All around town. Everybody is freaking out. People are getting shot. And then you got to come home and try and kill this thing with a fire poker. That is way too much physical activity while wearing a suit. I mean, at least wait until I change into my jogging pants before you make me fight for my life. See, this is reason number 2 why I never want to get married. So Curt manages to stab the thing, and then the phone rings.
I have the only working phone left.
Yes, the only working phone left. As well as yours. Because, you know, I called you. So Keith is like, hey, Curt, can you come over and play? And Curt is like, sure, I can show you my brand new gun. That's not exactly the dialogue, but it's pretty much the gist of it. Meanwhile, back at the station, Louise wakes up and wants to make some coffee, so she opens a drawer and oh my god, it's full of Inject-O-Pods. Well, now Louise has seen too much, so it's time for her to be disposed of. Back at Keith's house, he tells Martha, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to kill Curt. Zontar doesn't like him, and as we all know, Zontar is much cooler than Curt, so Curt's gotta go. Martha is now super pissed off and goes to the radio to give Zontar a piece of her mind once and for all.
I hate your living guts for what you've done to my husband and my world. And I'm going to kill you. Did you hear that? I'm going to kill you.
So Curt comes over and he's like, look, man, Zontar doesn't actually like you. He's just using you to take over the world. And Keith is like, nah, that can't be true, but let me think about it. So Curt goes, okay, you think about it while I point this gun at you. That ought to help you see things clearly. Meanwhile, Martha has gone to the cave to kill Zontar, and this is where we have the big reveal. Martha is now trying her best to hide from Zontar, and I have to say, what the hell, Martha? You talk all this shit, you go down there, and suddenly, what? You can't shoot him because he looks too scary? what were you expecting? A giant, inflatable, evil carrot like in the first movie? Would that have made it easier for you to pull the trigger? You know what? I don't think so. Because let's be real here. There's some charm to this balloon monster. It's kind of neat. At this point, Keith hears Martha's screams over the radio. I don't know how that works. And he's like, all right, we've got to destroy Zontar.
Here, take my gun.
Guns won't hurt him, Curt. But I've got something that will. Something that not even you've seen yet.
What's that?
It's a friendship bracelet that I made for Zontar. It was going to be a gift for when I met him in person. But now what I'm thinking of doing is when we go see him, I'm going to throw it in the trash right in front of him. You know, to be like, we're not friends anymore. I mean, that should be pretty clear, right? Like, he'll get that. So Keith has some kind of a laser stick, which is the only thing on Earth that can destroy Zontar. He goes to the cave, sees Zontar, and, well, I guess this means the stick's working. And after all of that, we're left with a bunch of dead people. The end. Well, there you have it, folks. The tragic tale of an alien from Venus who came down to Earth to turn everyone into zombies and take over the world. Is that really too much to ask for? Yeah. Now, this movie was made with a budget of $22,000, and it shows. It is not very good at all, but I will say the bad writing and acting make it, at times, pretty entertaining. And SCTV actually did a spoof of this back in the 80s. The episode is available on YouTube, so I'll put the link in the description if you're interested. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a little tiny trash can with me when we go to see Zontar, and then I'm just going to throw it in the little tiny trash can in front of him. But then afterwards, I'm just going to bring it home with me. I don't actually want to get rid of it. I mean, it's kind of nice, don't you think? I mean, you could have it if you want, Curt, after everything's all said and done. I just don't want to throw it in the actual garbage because this was a lot of work. This was 2 solid weekends.